Little context. As a child, I always used to see things. Ghosts, demons, goblins, monsters, voices, all this shit constantly. I hated it. But it was a part of my reality, but it got lesser as I got older. So probably something growing up, environmental, hormonal, whatever.
Yeah.
This was probably about, I was like 12, 13 years old. And in that time, I was very tired of this aspect of my life. So I used to try to take pictures of things like that whenever it would pop up, whenever I would see it, because I figured ghosts hate cameras, right?
Yeah. Well,
and I was living in a place in Kentucky that I considered to be extremely haunted. I have a story about an evil doll I can tell you as well. Or dolls, plural, that move on their own. So I was freaked out. I was like a little nervous ball of mess of a kid. Every fucking day there was a voice or a noise or some goddamn light or some spooky thing or some problem, at least a couple times a week, right?
Can you describe like what it was you were seeing? Like a fully formed thing, a shadow?
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Okay.
So in the context of this story, I'm minding my own business in my bedroom. I'm just cleaning it. I'm like 12, 13. It's a mess, right? And it's a nice, like, old wood cabin kind of place. So we have these wood doors with the complicated grain pattern and stuff. And I'm minding my own business. And I look over at the door and I watch it, like, warble very briefly, as if something is trying to push through the wood grain pattern. Now, here's the bizarre thing. What you're probably imagining is something like the Predator or like an elite from Halo standing in front of it with, like, the light bending. But it was more like my brain was opening to a pattern in the wood grain that I could previously not perceive, but now that I could. And it was both moving and not moving at the same time. And it was wiggling and wobbling and coming together. And it formed the shape of something that I would say would be a cartoon demon, something like you would imagine out of an 80s or 90s scary movie, you know, demonic goat legs, scary hands with nails and horns and whatnot. Huge, full frame of the door just standing there. And it's like, hi. I'm like flipping out. I'm like turning white and I'm like just fucking scared shitless. And the thing starts talking to me and telling me how fun it's been to play with me and that my brother's on the chopping block next. Can't wait to see what he's going to do to him. And
Jesus.
But it was talking not in my ears. It was talking up here. There was a voice and thoughts in my head that were not my own, just flowing in from somewhere. And I was panicking. And I remember as a child caring about my brother a lot. So I told it to stay with me and leave him alone. And it thought this was very amusing, said it would do so. And then said, let me give you a little preview of the future. And the wood grain just snapped. And it was almost like a TV screen, but like 2D and made of wood lines, just flashing little things in that theoretically would be in the future. Also an awful, nasty stuff, right? A lot of bad things. And then pops back to the demon and it's just like, bye. And immediately the pattern goes away. It never changed to begin with. I could no longer perceive this. And the scary thing was that of the 4 things that I was shown, 3 have come true.
Ooh, I'm sure not all of them are things you want to share. Are any of them something you could?
It's primarily personal things with my family.
Fair enough.
Just
yeah.
Things that would, you know, like how grandma dies, stuff like that.
Well, that's so you were hallucinating regularly as a child all the time.
Not all. As I got older, much lesser. As a very young child, yes, at the very least. As an adult,
I think Taylor phrased that incorrectly. When did the visions begin?
As long as I can remember.
You're right, Kyle. I'm sorry. This is the Halloween season. We need to buy in.
Literally, as long as I can remember. You want a killer doll story?
When did you realize you were a seer?
When I was 7 years old, I had to go to various like psychiatrists and analysts or whatever to let them do whatever they were going to do. They put me on a lot of different medications that children should not take, and it didn't help the problem at all. I had a terrible home environment, so it's probably some manifestation of that. That kind of instability is really bad for little kids. A lot of scary movies, stuff like that. You
ever seen any aliens or anything?
No, I've seen shadow people. I've seen lights.
The fuck is a shadow person, man?
It's it's like a fucking like a shadow on your wall of a person, but there's no fucking person there.
Well, I hate that.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
I don't care for that either.
Is your home life extraordinarily bad or like normal bad? Like parents got divorced, like half of kids go through.
Extraordinary.
Okay.
Fuck.
So
enough to make you see demons and
I was having a good day up until like 20 minutes ago.
We can make this. We can make this one.
So the way to think about it, you talked about DMT, and that's what gave me the idea. I legitimately think that my
Don't
brain
do DMT.
dropped a
You're
tiny
half- we
bit
got
of the
1 foot
DMT
in.
stores that it has, because it felt like I was perceiving a pattern that previously I could not perceive, and hearing things that I previously could not. I had issues with dolls that would move on their own in the same house. I fucking hated that. It used to creep me out because I always felt like they were staring at me.
I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, but I'm fascinated.
Okay.
When you say move on their own, like it wiggle a little, or it would just be here and now it's like in another room.
Yeah, like being an
Second one.
leave it.
But to an extreme degree. So we were rich. We had a giant toy room bigger than this office. They had a whole fucking wall of stuffed animals. And they all had these little glass eyes that I thought were staring at me all the time because I was a fucked up little kid. Didn't like it. It was very annoying. So what I decided to do one day is go in there and turn all 100 of them around to face the wall. So just like teddy bear butts facing the rest of the room. And my little play areas, I had a little game station right beside the door to the playroom. So just sit in the door would be right here. So I did that and I was like, great, I'm going to go play Road Rash on N64. And I do that for a little bit. I was like, I want something from the toy room. So it might have been an hour and a half later. Nobody is going in there. Parents are like gone. It's just me. If somebody did go in, it would have had to been like right beside me. Right. I go in there and all 100 of these fucking dolls have turned around. And they're not just facing outward on the shelf like where they were, but the ones on the further ends are like angled in. So they're all looking at the door the very moment I opened it.
Ooh. Did you turn them back around?
Yeah, I just closed the door and left. Just fucking out. Bye. See ya.
Did they ever move again after that?
I've never seen or heard anything. I wish.
No, you don't. You don't wish. This
sounds horrid. Why would you want this?
Well, I don't want what he's got. I mean, clearly he has a thing going on.
A touch of the crazies.
I just want to see a door wiggle one time or something like.
I want it to turn into like the Pillsbury Doughboy or someone good. Kyle, you're muted.
Seen Lights. I've seen Hat Man, the old woman. I've heard of plenty of number of like mostly weird sounds. You hear things dragging around in the wall, or little voices and whispers and stuff. But so it wasn't just me; it was the whole family. We all had to deal with this shit for like 7 years. It was terrible.
So they were seeing stuff as well with dolls and
yes. My mother especially, she's got a whole host of colorful mental problems. So her reporting is less than reliable. My brother has a few creepy stories. He was very young, and the interesting one is that the old man, my stepfather, is like this Vietnam War veteran. He's not into this spooky ghost shit. My mom complains about ghosts all the time. He's like, shut the fuck up. You don't know what real horror is.
Finally, and then fucking last, a normal person. And Jesus Christ, I'm all here alone listening to the last 40 minutes of make-believe bullshit. None of this happened. None of this
But it got him too.
None of this is anything. It didn't get him.
There was a night we heard footsteps sprinting through the house and noises. He bolted up out of the bedroom, shotgun. Who's in the house? And we're all like, we've been telling you it's a fucking ghost. And he's like, bullshit. And he just starts going around to see if there's anybody like breaking in the house or sneaking around outside and stuff like that. So it got him a time or two too.
The demon got him.
You just don't believe, Woody. You're just a skeptic.
Well, here's the reality. It's what happened from my perspective, which is only as reliable as you believe in me.
And so
I think you have a mental illness, but I wish you the best.
I believe in your ghost stories this much.
Well, see, Woody, but we talked about this with like the schizophrenia thing when we talked about schizophrenia a couple weeks ago. Like, in their eyes, everything they're saying is 100% real, and like they're not trying to like pull the wool over your eyes. They're like, no, I saw a shadow person, and so like to them it's real, and so it's like just as horrifying as if it is real, you know?
Sure.
And you can't unremember it. So as an adult, this continues about 3 or 4 times a year. I will briefly see or hear a thing that's not there, not a spooky ghost. I mean, I'll just be like laying in bed by myself and it's dead silent. And I'll hear, welcome to Wendy's. What would you like to order? And I'm like, the fuck?
Just
my number 6 with a Coke Zero.
Yeah, just
coming right tiny, up.
Like maybe like one shadow person scooting by and then going to do his own thing super quick. But the difference between that and schizophrenia is a schizophrenic almost certainly believes that. Schizophrenics are confused that all of you don't see the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't it's like the object permanence, or that one person can have knowledge that the other one doesn't. There's like an incongruency. So those hallucinations are reality, but in my case, I know that they're not real.
Damn. That as a kid, you probably thought they were real, though, right?
Oh, very real.
Yeah.
Very, very much so.
That's horrible. I've never seen a demon or a ghost, anything like that. But I guess it's only a matter of time, Woody, until one crosses my path.
I had night terrors for a decade.
Oh, no.
Yeah, my listeners have heard it before, but in fast forward, my house got robbed. I confronted the burglar. Later, the police called him. I think I read about someone like that in the paper. But even though in the moment, it was the man I would aspire to be, afterwards I was terrified. I couldn't sleep without a knife underneath me. The burglar had been in our home, like, I don't know how many times, 8 times, 12 times, like a bunch. And what are you guys laughing at?
Oh, no.
I'm not laughing.
Drifter was saying, this went off the rails. I'm like, it's all good. You're good.
No, I'm not laughing at your trauma. It's not, let's laugh.
So to roll it along,
I didn't laugh at
I
all.
had this recurring dream where I'm sleeping. There's a figure in the doorway, and I need to either fight him off or defend myself, but I'm sort of sleep paralyzed. And then I would wake up in a sweat and, not be paralyzed anymore. And that happened to me for like a decade. It was a long time. It was like a PTSD level trauma that
Every night?
No, it was really frequent and in the first couple of years and infrequent towards the end of the 10.
You weren't seeing like someone sitting at the foot of your bed or anything like that when you were in like the terror state, right?
In the dream, I would see someone in the doorway, blocking. It was the only entrance into the room, and he was coming for us. And then I would, I was just trying to get up and handle it, but I couldn't move because I'm asleep. And you're in that state where like what's happening in real world is kind of playing out in the dream too, and I'm just barely able to move. In the dream, I'm paralyzed with fear until I wake up.
Then what happens when you wake up?
My wife would console me, say it was just a dream. Like that's what happened. I realized it had a bad dream.
And this probably doesn't happen like at all anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Sounds a little bit like sleep paralysis in a sense.
Yeah.
That always sounded
terrifying.
so horrifying. I'm so glad I've never had a night terror or sleep paralysis. And like the friends I've had over the years who have it and talk about it, so many of them have the same exact thing. Like it's not like we're sitting around in a circle talking about it. It's many people over the years I'm talking to, and they all say they see a figure, whether it's a demon or a ghoul or a ghost or a goblin, all sitting, sitting on the bed, looking at them. Like they're all sitting on the bed with them. And it just is weird to me that like all these different people, different walks of life, they all say, no, same thing. A demon sitting on the bed with me, looking at me right next to my feet.
Yeah. In my case, it's dark. I can't see what's up. Picture him a little bit dressed like the guy from Scream, like some sort of cloak or whatever. And I don't know. I got to deal with shit and I can't because I've got sleep paralysis.
Oh, have you ever had that, Kyle?
No, I've never had sleep paralysis or anything really like that. I've had some really scary nightmares. But I also have this weird thing, and I've done it since I was a kid, where like if I'm in too scary of a nightmare, I'll like jump off of something high, like straight onto my head, like try to kill myself in the dream, and I'll like wake up right away.
I'll have dreams where like I'm falling from a mountain or something, like I'm just falling, except then like the fall decelerates and then I'm just walking, like the fall just ends, and it's like that like stomach like roller coaster feeling, but it's not even unpleasant because like even though like because I'm never falling. I'm like failing at flying. It's never like straight down. It's like going down like that until it's just like, ooh, just start walking like the Harry Potter people when they're like all going through that warp and then they're just fine walking.
Then you're just like almost flying.
Yeah. But I always know I'm dreaming when that happens. So it doesn't really get too spooky. Man, I don't have any good nightmares to share.
If y'all are falling, do you wake up before you hit the ground?
No, I hit the ground and like have a sensation of breaking my neck, and then I wake up.
Hey, we're in the same boat.
Oh no, I'm the
Fucking
opposite.
suck.
I wake up just before I hit the ground.
Probably the better way to do it.
Yeah, I didn't know there was another choice. I choose mine.
If I don't jump high enough, then I just hurt my neck, and now the bad guys are closer.
What? I've never tried to commit suicide in a dream ever.
Yeah, I learned that there's like this like there's a minimum height to accomplish suicide in a dream. And I tried to like jump off a chair once in a dream. Like that. No, that's not high enough. You gotta get like 5 feet off the ground, 6 feet off the ground, something like that.
A chair.
Cats can jump from any height in real life.
What do you mean? They can jump from any height?
They could jump off a 10-story building and land on their feet and walk away.
No, it's not
I'd
true.
be skeptical. I mean, what you can just throw them off.
So
wasn't
I'm
too
so
strong.
confused.
Is he British?
So confused by the last. How long we go? 3 hours? We're 3 hours in.
Yeah, this episode's been
felt
going
like
like
an hour because I've been so fascinated by Drifter. Wow. Did you know he had all those things going on?
No, I didn't know anybody had that much going on. Like with seeing demons and ghouls and them, like it just straight up auditory and visual hallucinations he was having constantly as a child.
So he has a severe neurological disorder, huh?
Yeah, some sort of
But only
sensory,
one penis.
but only one penis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm fine with one.
Would you rather?
Half
Would
as
you
many
rather
as I
have
need.
two?
No, it seems like it'd be annoying.
Yeah, I think one's
Especially if one's a dribbler and
Everyone who watched the previous episodes, which I'm sure as most people know, that you were going through some serious like endocrine system hormone problems, and you seem to be out of the woods. Is that correct?
I hope so. I'm definitely a lot better than where I was. I have no more answers than I had then, despite a disgusting amount of medical tests, including a very expensive full genetic breakdown. The doctors wanted to see if I was an intersexed individual. So
did
that
you
was
get it?
really fun. No, I was actually perfectly normal.
Did you get it? Like it's a prize.
It's like a prize win, yeah. No, it's been wild. It's spread to my hands and arms, and they've more recently come back. The issue these days is not the overall quality, but some unpredictability. They're just bad days here and there, and nobody knows what's going on. I've done every reasonable, sane thing anybody recommended, and it went pretty much nowhere. So I've moved away from all of that, and I'm just decided I'm going to live with whatever's happening, or it's going to kill me. But I can't waste all of my free time hunting down medical mysteries because that's
you're
just
not doing
depressing.
testosterone. You did that for a bit, right?
I did not. I tried almost
you did
everything
Clomid.
else
And it helped
because the
briefly.
purpose behind it was to do things to my endocrine system to see how it would respond. So if it responded interestingly, we've learned something. And I've lost track of how many different things they made me do, and we got nothing interesting whatsoever.
Okay.
Well, that sucks. So like, you're feeling good now. Is it like a physical feeling good, or is it like a mental, like I'm not dealing with this shit anymore, I'm just gonna ignore it?
A little
Like
bit of
feeling
both.
good.
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, when you're not feeling like shit all the time, it's easier to be normal, have normal thoughts, do normal things.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, it seems like you're in a much, much better place. 2 times ago when you were on, you're like, yeah, I wake up in cold sweats and I can't eat and my tits hurt and my like. It's all
It was all sorts of crazy stuff. The big one was that whatever happened made my hands kind of paralyzy for a little bit, but they're back to relatively normal now. So hopefully, maybe within a week or two, I can go back to playing games, first-person shooters, though I don't think I can necessarily go back to being the man I was. And I think a lot of you are very familiar with this. When you step away from the YouTube space for a long period of time, you can't just come back and refill your old shoes. Somebody else has already filled them. The audience has moved on. People see you differently and may not even just generally have a desire to. So I'm going to have to transition from a nerdy, analytical COD stat guy to a broader gaming YouTuber, or perhaps even a much weirder YouTuber. We're doing a lot of marijuana content on the channel, which has been fun.
So your hands were so paralyzed you couldn't like do Xbox?
I had difficulty
at all?
wiping my ass.
Oh,
I couldn't eat dinner unless I had a baby fork. I couldn't even use chopsticks.
Thankfully, he's hairless.
Well, lots of people can't use chopsticks.
Chopsticks thing. I got that too.
It's been weird, but that's kind of a dead horse I no longer desire to beat into the ground. I'm just trying to live with whatever in the world is going on and move on with my life.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it, man.
And how's the shadow people? Have you been? How are they?
The true question.
Very little. I think I saw one shadow person very briefly a couple of months ago. So my office, the door is kind of right over here, just off camera. And I was just sitting here doing my thing, and I saw a humanoid kind of shadow walk by. I looked at it, and I looked down at the dog, and the dog didn't look. And I was like, well, that's probably not real. And I kind of went back to my editing.
That's not too bad.
No,
Man,
it's not. It's not.
Let's hope that dog hasn't gotten used to the intruder living in your home.
No, I've always had to rely on pets for a little gauge of reality. If you hear a weird noise or see a weird thing, is the dog interested in it? If the dog's not interested, it's probably all up here.
You've got a whole canary in the coal mine thing going on for your hallucinations.
Yeah, pretty much. Those are extremely infrequent as an adult. As a kid and a teenager, not so much. As an adult, very managed.
Yeah, mine are very infrequent. I had none, and then we're hoping that it stays that way, but you never know.
Dude, this is just the other night. Like I had just watched. I watch a lot of like campy, shitty horror movies late at night. I enjoy them. I like them. But like you still like if there's a ghoulish face or something, it might stick out to you. And like I don't really get spooked too much. It just holds my attention. And I was going to bed, and like I was looking at those like side like taller windows that are to the side of your door that you can, like kind of see through. I was walking down my hall, and I looked and I saw like an angle off of it that looked like the same ghoulish face of that monster from the movie. And I was like, I didn't respond, but I felt my heart rate go like pop, 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 pop. And then I like looked a little closer, and it was like, oh, that's the light playing tricks. And then I went to bed. I can't imagine spending the rest of the night with what you did, where you're like, it's probably not a demon. Probably it's almost certainly not a demon.
So I think this is a thing that men do and women don't do when they see something scary at night, because I've always do the same thing, and I don't know why. When I see something that I don't know what it is in like the dark, I freeze and I stare.
I don't want to let whatever it is know that I'm afraid.
Yes, but what it really is I'm computing in my mind. I'm like, my mind is like taking that smudgy figure I see and like fucking moving it around,
CSI,
and transposing it, trying to figure out like coat rack. Yep, it's a hoodie on a chair. Okay, hoodie on a chair with a demon mask next to it. That's not my mask. Oh no. You gotta figure that out, right? Like real quick. I've noticed when my girlfriend would see something scary, it's always and run. Like I think it's the difference between fight or flight. Not that I'm down to do combat with a demon. I want to run too, but it's just not my first inclination. I'm always just like, how a dog will do that like instinctive like pointer thing where like they all stick their tails out and like I think there's something like that with us too. I think maybe so. I hate
kind of hunting instinct, investigation, evolutionarily just built in. It defaults to most men. Also a desire to know what the fuck is going on. Because if something is actually wrong, it would be best to know what is actually wrong instead of, I'll just go to bed and not think about it.
Liven it up a little bit here.
Let's see.
Tell us about another time. Tell us about another time the shadow people were.
Oh, good. Okay, that's more
light.
fun.
That's
okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. I saw a glowing
and did they always look
one time,
or did?
Well, I've seen the old hag, not the Hat Man.
Excuse me.
Glowing lights.
Oh, you've never seen that? Yeah. Wait, you just said Hat Man. So like
my wife
I got
saw
into
Hat
reading
Man.
about does she abuse Benadryl?
No, none of us do. No Ambien, no Benadryl, none of that kind of stuff. Or a fun one. I used to live on a property that was formerly owned by a cult, and it was really weird. And it was kind of haunted-y. So some of my Spanish in-laws thought it'd be a great idea to have an exorcism. So I got to watch that when I was a little kid, which was bizarre. Short version, we bought a house way out in the middle of nowhere in Texas. It bedded like 18, but mostly in weird bunk beds that were built into the attic. And it was very fish, like greenhouse, very self-sustaining. And the people that lived there all of a sudden moved like overnight and sold it like dirt cheap.
This is a lot to ingest, bro.
Dude, who are you?
Huh? I'm a lot of people and a lot of things.
You were growing up in fucking Waco or something like that.
It's a lot more remote than Waco, but yeah.
Damn.
The town had 40 people.
Oh, David Koresh was terrified of our compound. We kicked him out for his simpleton views. He wasn't extreme enough for us.
The house was very weird. There was always weird noises, always weird shit going on. You could never sleep because something would go bump in the night. Nothing like super horrifying or shadow people or whatever, but it fucked with everybody in the house. Mostly would come from my brother's room, which was weird because we thought he was getting up in the night. So we would make him sleep downstairs and it would still happen. Or if he slept up there, he said he would never hear anything, but downstairs sounded like a nightmare. And it happened once when one of my in-laws was at the house and she happened to be a devout Spanish Catholic, and it freaked her right properly the fuck out. And she came back with some of her friends. I don't think they were priests. And they started putting oils on the walls and crosses and out with you demons, and then shit in Spanish that I couldn't understand, and consecrating and cursing and blessing. And I'd seen scary movies growing up. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. I want to see this. I've never seen an exorcism or a blessing or a demon warding, whatever it is that they're doing, because I don't speak Spanish. I don't know. And I was very pissed off because I was not allowed to. I was the only person not allowed to witness the exorcism because I was the only person in the house that was unbaptized. And they were all afraid that the ghost or whatever would go into me. So I had to go way on the other side of the property while they banished evil spirits or whatever. And the short version is it didn't do a goddamn thing. All the spooky stuff kept happening.
So
yeah, of course, because
Jesus
it's all
Christ.
fake.
Woody, are you baptized?
Yeah, I believe these people buy
Drifter?
NFTs.
Drifter, you're
Yeah,
not
probably.
baptized. You're not baptized?
Me?
Drifter? Yeah.
I am now.
I'm the only one. Huh.
I guess I don't think I'm as remotely
You've never
religious
been
as I used to be, so I
baptized?
don't know if that counts, but I did get baptized, yes.
Dude,
I'm
you're
not-
going to hell so hard, man.
I don't know why, but like we used to do that thing.
Dude, I
don't
can't
know.
wait. Me and Woody gonna be fucking high-fiving, riding a tandem bike up in heaven.
Oh, God.
On a cloud somehow. Taylor, I'm not getting any traction.
Can I just?
I'll hit you guys with a less crazy one, more of a funny one. It was when I was like 16, 17 years old. I'd moved away from that bad place to a, we'll say, different place in Mississippi. I lived in a very small house. We were not rich people. My dad made like $4,000 a year, and there was a little bit of subsistence hunting kind of stuff going on. And I was big into video games. I'd play.
Hold on. What?
Yeah.
$4,000 a year.
Forget that, Taylor. Could you just say the words that you hunted for your own food?
A little bit. It wasn't anything crazy. You catch fish from the river, you shoot a deer here and there. If a redneck has something they want a trophy and not the meat, I'll take it.
This is awesome.
Yeah, so stuff like that. My wife would eat raccoons and stuff and possums and whatever the fuck. They're really chewy and gamey, but we did a lot of that.
Did you kill them or find them by the roadside?
You're not supposed to
Kill them. I just pop them, shoot them with a 22. But the point is, we lived kind of broke as a really small little house. And I lived in a really small little room. We didn't have any heat or air. So whatever it was outside, it just was inside. And I had to deal with it. But I would sit there on my little TV and I'd play video games. And I was big into video games. One night I go to bed, everything's normal. And I hear this giant fucking crash and slam and like glass breaking. And the only thing I can think is that my brand new fan that I got installed, by the way, I'd lived like 3 years with no fan in the summer. I was super happy to have my fan.
That blows.
I thought the fan had fallen down because we used the cheapest repairman possible. And I thought, fuck, I'm going to have to spend all summer with no fan. So I get up and go kind of like around the walls of my room to avoid stepping on glass and turn on the light. And everything is fine. Everything is totally fine and normal. And I'm like, have I lost my mind? And then I look over to my little desk where I would do my homework, and there's a giant pile of old video games. And when I say old, I mean 1980s old, like the Ghostbusters game and Super Mario Duck Hunt, the original boxes in pretty good conditions. And what was weird about this is these were things that I had owned eons ago, right? Desk was clean when I went to bed. These are things that I had not seen in 10 plus years at that point. When you give something to a 3-year-old in 1989, it tends to get torn up. I remember moving and throwing them away. And then suddenly in the middle of the fucking night, for no reason, there's a whole pile of vintage games just sitting on my desk. There's no explanation, no nothing.
Drifter,
Huh.
I find you to be a charming and talented man. I really enjoy it when you're on. I look forward to it because
There's a but though.
But when you talk about things like this, I think that, well, I hope that everyone's ears are perking up and hearing these things. And look, I have a side of me that thinks that there's a chance that you are haunted by demons. I am not made that a zero-sum thing. Okay, you may be haunted by demons. I want you to do paranormal videos where you like film yourself, like do like set up one of those night vision cameras by your bed, dude, and like if anything ever happens and you could string this together, I'd be a viewer, because you creep me out by telling me this stuff the same way what's our friend who came out a while back who does the scary stories, You're
muted, Taylor.
I'm muted. I'm so sorry. Wendigo.
Wendigo, yeah.
Oh yeah, Wendigo.
When you start telling me like stuff about your childhood or adolescence, or maybe even the last few years, this stuff about seeing things, it creeps me out the way that Wendigo. I want to get his name right because I do like him. I watch his videos all the time. It's just
I think it's like Wendigo, but Wendigoon.
Yeah, but it's because I think there's a mythical monster called a Wendigo.
Wendigo.
Is it Wendigo? Yeah,
Skinwalker kind of eats people.
Exactly.
Yeah, it pretends to be people, and that's like and
that's one of those monsters. That's one of those monsters that like something that takes the form of humans. Those are the ones that like if you're whatever you want to call it, open-minded or goofy or silly enough or whatever to believe in crazy stuff. That's one of the ones that can make sense to like sneak by. Like, no, you don't understand. Of course, we don't know they exist. They take the form of what we see every day. People.
It looks like a normal guy just walking down the street or maybe minding his own business in the woods. You don't know.
It's like The Thing, which is the greatest horror movie ever.
Or maybe like reptilians, taking the form of humans, the whole overlord
the
thing.
Reptilian part,
like they live.
It doesn't make sense because like the like reptilian conspiracy thing, it says they're underground. They're cold-blooded. They'd be way too hot.
It'd be warm down there.
It'd be warm.
They need that to stay warm. They need that to live.
They'd live on geothermals, and to live above ground, they want to. They've taken positions of power.
No, it's not like basking in the sun hot down there. It's unbelievably hot.
It depends how deep you go, Taylor. Okay, have you been to the mines of Korgoroth? I think
no. I'm making this up as I go along.
Have you seen the steam pools of the deep Gogala?
Yeah, if I hadn't, I wouldn't have made.
Where the reptile men are numbered in the millions, and the reptile women do whatever you want.
Do you think they have tits?
You ever seen one of those? You ever seen one of those alligator cloacas? That little slit. It's like humans could learn a few things about vaginas from alligators.
Oh god.
Right?
And dolphins.
Yeah.
Oh god.
And dolphins. Like I saw a Impractical Jokers bit where like he's like, you ever wonder what dolphin puss looks like? He has to say that to a pretty woman, and she literally goes, "I think it's just kind of circular." Like she just rolls with it, and it's just like, damn.
Love it,
dude. Every once in a while, they run up against a cool person who's just as down to be silly.
Yeah, but back to the thing. I worry that maybe like you're hallucinating, right? Do you think you're hallucinating?
That's the most logical thing, right?
And I'm not trying to be shitty. I'm not trying to be shitty about this, or like we've talked about this when you weren't here, and I don't want you to think that like I'm doing that behind your back or anything like that.
Kyle's fascinated by this whole thing.
Okay, I don't get offended easily, so it's no worries.
Yeah, don't think that I'm like behind your back, like laughing it up about.
No.
No, it's ridiculous. I tell these stories because
the situation is just ridiculous, and it's interesting to me, like genuinely.
Yeah. Last time you were on, Kyle was like, "Guys, we should have stayed on the paranormal shit the whole 4 hours. I'm fascinated."
Yeah. I could go on about that forever because so much like weird shit happened. But the short version is Woody's gone. I feel like he just didn't want to hear this shit, and he probably
no. He's I think it's some home improvement stuff.
He's pooping or getting a snack.
Yeah.
The reality is that a lot of this happened at a very not so great time in my life. My home life was broken. I was moving a lot. I was stressed out a lot. I was the kind of kid that would have to stay up late at night and keep the shoes by the bed because you might have to bounce like that. And it's very realistic to say that the stress of that does not do good things to the psyche of children.
For sure.
So as I move into adulthood, these things happen far less frequently. They do still happen. So I think, well, did this shit really happen? Which your subreddit tore me a whole new asshole about this, about supposedly lying or whatever.
Oh.
But the practical version is I have to think, well, it only happened experientially in here, most likely, because I don't live my life making decisions based on what I think shadow people or demons or whatever the fuck are going to do. I'm a very logical, scientific person.
That's what I appreciate about what you're saying, because you're not coming here and you're like Dan Aykroyd, for example, a guy that I really am a huge fan of since I was a kid. I think he's a brilliantly funny man from SNL and Ghostbusters and all the writing he's done. Mm-hmm. But he's a whack job when you hear him speak. And when he talks about aliens or secret societies, and he's got that really, really quick Chicago accent, and he's explaining it to you, and you're just like, Crystal Skull vodka. And then he starts talking about aliens, and you're just like, okay, you're a whack.
Dan Aykroyd is into aliens and
Yeah, his whole family used to be psychic mediums. And stuff.
Dan Aykroyd is incredibly wacky. You know his character in Ghostbusters, how he's like a paranormal psychologist.
Yeah, but I thought that was just him.
No.
Well, they were all kind of paranormal.
A lot of the wackadoo writing is him going to Ivan Reitman, who just passed away, and being like, "Oh, we got to have some stuff about the occult in here." Like they wrote that fucking movie, and he has always been wacky like that with the occult, conspiracies, aliens, and he believes stringently in it. He has that Crystal Skull Vodka company, and
wait, that's his company?
Yes.
Yeah. He makes a lot of money selling that
has got like so many people know that like you walk through like your grocery store and go through the alcohol aisle, and like so much of it is just the coolness of the designs that gets you, where you're like, okay, well, this one looks like a wine bottle and it's $7.99. This one looks cool as shit. It's got a skull and it's $11.99. I'm gonna always go skull. It's cooler.
That is one of the best gimmicks ever.
I've never had that.
It's not great vodka, but it's not awful vodka, and you get a skull out of it. It's cool. Like you can fill it up with sand of different colors, like doing those little sand art things. You could do a lot of stuff with it. I saw someone take this glow in the dark sand that you can like, and they filled it up with that, and then the whole skull would just glow under black light. I don't know. They're neat little props to like throw on a desk or something like that too.
I think,
but what I was getting at, I'm sorry, I don't want to get away from the point.
No,
is like,
go for it.
That's a wacky guy who I think is just a loon. I don't think that of you at all.
So I appreciate that. A lot of people do.
But when you casually talk about this stuff, it can lend itself there. But what I see from you is not someone who's trying to convince me that there are paranormal things happening. It's someone who's telling me about what you're talking about, your mental illness essentially, and how like traumatic events have triggered this more at certain points in your life, and how you basically see things that aren't there, and I don't know how you cope with that, because if I thought like right now I've got my monitors in front of me, some lighting and shit, but like across that room there's a door over there. If I ever looked up, and I'm alone at my house right now, if I ever looked up and I saw something look at me through there, it would upset me so much that I don't think I could live alone anymore. I talked about this with someone like yesterday because someone asked me who was coming on, and we had a very similar discussion to what we're having right now. But I told him like I couldn't even live alone anymore, I don't think. And I don't think like getting a full-time like live-in girlfriend would do the trick. I think I'd have to move back in with my father to feel safe again. If there were dark men in my house, like that sounds silly.
Well, no, that's
if there's static man or shadow,
if there's dark shadow people or something like, and something I'm interested in with what Drifter said is,
I'd be so scared.
When you described experiencing it as a kid, you talk about like seeing a figure for extended periods of time. When you described it just now as an adult, you were like a fleeting image in the corner. Like, is that how it tends to be now as an adult? It's more of a fleeting, like it could be a shadow, and it's just your childhood reminding you like, oh, that could be that.
Yeah, something like that. As an adult, very fleeting. I don't hallucinate things very infrequently. 3-4 times a year tops if it's busy. Audio is a little more frequent, but it's usually just very, very small things. It's not whispering voices and crazy shit like that. But I think the improvement came to an improvement to my psyche when I left the very toxic environment. But that doesn't change the memories of these things. And as a kid, I was rationally, like you, very scared. I wouldn't stay certain places. I wouldn't do certain things alone. I wouldn't go places. I wouldn't touch things. And they take me to child psychologists, and I would tell them about these things. None of them were impressed. I got a variety of medications, which kids probably shouldn't have.
Agreed.
But at the end of the day, even though I'm very cognizantly aware that there's like a 99% chance that everything I see exists only up here, it doesn't change the reality of the memories for me. Like, so Kyle, or Taylor, you're very reasonable people. If a very unreasonable thing happened, a very spooky shadow person or ghost just peeked around the corner and said, "Fuck you, Kyle," and then just disappeared, and you saw it for real, totally for real, you couldn't unremember it. You couldn't remember it like any other different way.
It would be in your mind forever.
So let me ask you this. I like where you've led me here. The memories that you have of these encounters, let's call them, are they just as grounded? Do they feel just as real as like your 15th birthday party or something like that?
100%. That's why when I first started my YouTube channel, I can see you laugh already. I endeavored to tell these stories, and I told almost all of them in about a 10 or 15 part series, so that as I get older and my memory changes and you recall and you retell and things change, so that at least the best memory I had available at the time existed as a sort of log. But I do remember them as real. Matter of fact, I had something happen when I was 15. It was a bunch of weird noises that made me leave my house. I didn't really like it. I didn't know how to deal with it. So I just fucking left and went to a friend's house. And I had a very awkward conversation telling my friend that, yeah, I want to spend the night here because something is following me around the house and making noises. Like, I don't expect you to believe that, but just humor me.
Oh, not only would I believe it, but I would be like, Mom, he's back. You promised you'd do something. like, Mom, you said you'd call the police this time. He keeps coming back. You know he's haunted, right? I saw it too. They say if he sleeps at your house, it kills you in 7 days.
Kills you in 7 days. Don't watch any VHS he brought with him.
You're being drug away by your mom. You're like, it's Jurassic Park.
That's very interesting. Like,
no. God,
so
it's weird.
So
scary,
you said that the visual hallucinations as a kid, very intense, as an adult, fleeting, and it's more almost maybe an anomaly in the corner of your eye that triggers an internal memory of a similar shaped thing. Is auditory the same thing where when you were a kid, it was full sentences, full voices, and now it's more of just kind of something curious that you don't think exists?
Well, weirdly, I had no voices as a kid. Nothing really talked so much. Every now and then you would get thoughts that weren't yours. So to speak, more of an idea and less of a words, a voice babbling.
Time out again.
Okay.
So up until now, again, I don't know much, but up until now, it seems like you've described a lot of things that seemed like they were external. You experienced them as external events, but now you described something that you experienced as an internal event, something where you had a feeling or a thought that didn't feel like it was yours, which is maybe a sister mental illness, but I don't think coincides with the same mental illness. I wish next time you come on, we're going to have a doctor here.
Okay. Yeah, you can bring a doctor. I'm sure I'll give them all sorts. I'm keeping doctors busy right now, as a matter of fact.
And I'm glad that you're open to it, and you realize that I'm not trying to like make light of this. That I'm genuinely like interested.
I'm telling these stories because they're interesting. I think it is interesting content.
It's very interesting content. I love spooky supernatural stuff or just hallucinations. All
right. If you do, then like I mentioned a minute ago, but Wendigoon, like. God, I hope you get your name right, bro.
Wendigoon, yeah.
I fucking love you, by the way. I watched his video about like sea mysteries, and maybe I was just in the right mood, and the lighting in the room was right. It was like 2 a.m. when I watched too. It was creeping me out. I was getting like the chills a little bit, like I was getting a little uncomfortable.
You were getting those goosebumps,
pulling the blanket up a little bit.
Yeah, because he's telling a story of like this turn of the century boat going from America to Europe, and the captain brings his wife and his like young child. He crews the ship with 15 good men, like half of which are close friends and confidants, all experienced sailing men carrying 1,000 barrels of ethanol to Europe. And the ship is found about a few hundred miles off the coast of Europe, completely empty, with no signs of struggle. Food is on the tables. Ink and parchment is out on the table, so the ship couldn't have rocked very much. There's a little water in the hold, but that's kind of standard for those ships of that age. And one, I'll get to that. And one of the lifeboats, the ropes have been cut and it's missing. So Wendigoon makes the point that like in that time you wouldn't cut your rope as a sailor at sea on a cross Atlantic voyage. You have so much rope, and then you have no rope, and rope is your rigging is your life out there because your sail is your life.
You need it. Yeah,
they need that rope. You wouldn't cut the rope except in an emergency. We need it now. There's no time to like untie a knot. 10 seconds doesn't exist here. We need, and so the people who find it, another experienced captain who takes the ship in to get the salvage rights. So then there's a court proceeding to determine if everything's legit, because you have so like. They investigated this thing thoroughly and came up with every conceivable theory. And in the end, no one has any idea what happened to the captain, his family, his 12 or 15 crew. They can't come up with a scenario that makes sense for them to abandon their ship like that. And the other thing, the valuable cargo.
Was there anything stolen from the ship?
No, that's what I was going to say. The valuable cargo is there. The captain's sword is in his quarters. You'd think that, if things got rough, he'd have the sword, not under his bed.
Pretty logical.
Yeah. So what was the conclusion of it? Like they have no idea.
So he tells like 5 or 6 stories about the sea in this one video, and the end of every story is, who knows? like no one knows. And that all the cargo is intact, 1,000 barrels of ethanol, which I suppose is like reasonably valuable at the time. Certainly not a small amount of money. Yeah, it's
ethanol.
For some reason, those creep me out. It's alcohol.
Yeah. So it's just alcohol.
It's alcohol for industrial use.
Oh, okay.
It's not ghosts, right? It's not bullshit. It's
no.
Not so why would people leave the ship quickly?
If you think the ship's going to go down, you leave the ship. If the ship is like in a position where you think she's going down, and the life boat is a more reasonable choice than staying on board. Mm-hmm. So you got to think of like all the scenarios in which that thought occurs to you.
Fleeing from pirates, weirdly.
Pirates would rob you, right? They take the ethanol, you think. So like in my mind, I have to get so convoluted. I'm like, all right, maybe pirates come, but it goes bad, and the captain's family is killed, and one pirate turns on the other pirate, and he kills that pirate because he doesn't like that a family's been killed. He's there for the money, not for all this craziness. And then everybody had to go, but no, that doesn't work.
It doesn't make any sense.
There's no blood. There's no like sign of struggle. I want to say that the 300-pound block that they put the compass in, I don't know what those are called. It's some nautical term for the thing the compass goes in on a sailboat. It's a big thing that was knocked over, which was odd because it's heavy. And
so I'm assuming in all these examples, everybody who jumped ship and like got on the lifeboat, they died before they got to shore. So there was never anyone.
They never found a body.
Oh, the SS Ulysses. I was on that. What happened was XYZ.
No. This is like 15 men who were never seen from again. Another one was more modern. This was that because the first one's 100 years ago. The second one was 3 guys on what looked like a catamaran, like maybe like fishing vessel type thing.
Yeah.
And like all 3 of them somehow they found the boat. With the sail ripped, empty, and the food was laid out on the table again. The engine was in neutral, and there's a fishing pole out on the deck, and the fishing line is the hook is in the rigging under the boat. These are all the clues we have, and so they had to do another one of these like coroner's report things in a situation like this, and the coroner has to write the most plausible thing for what he thinks happened. And his is that guy gets his fishing line stuck, falls in the water. The other guy says, "Oh no, I'll save you." He jumps in the water. Third guy throws the boat in neutral because 2 of his friends are in the water, and the mast swings around and hits him Three Stooges style, knocking him into the water, and the boat cruises off, leaving them all to die.
This doesn't make any sense.
That's what Wendigo said. He's like, so it needs to be like some sort of slapstick comedy style.
You need Moe and Curly to make that work.
Clean out the whole ship. They're all gone. Yeah. What about a methane gas bubble? But that would probably sink the ship too.
So if something like that happens, then maybe that could explain people abandoning a ship, though, right? But that wasn't the case. The boat didn't have water in it, and in the case of in one of the instances, the records were so meticulous that you could tell the hour that it had happened. It was like, all right, it happened between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. on August the 3rd. Something happened, and because there's an account from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then 9 a.m. to 10 never happens.
That is bizarre.
It is, and these make for very creepy stories.
Yeah, he's got
that could be you.
Stories. He's got.
You could go on a boat with your friends and just disappear. You don't know.
The ocean is so fucking scary, and
that was scariest. Like demons are arguably the least scary thing out there because I don't know if demons can swim. Sharks can, octopus can. Everything in there that wants to eat you can. Like
the ocean's like a big murder factory. Like if Aquaman could hear, he would just hear constant screaming of everything eating everything else constantly. In the ocean.
Have you never like read those like excerpts or vignettes from soldiers who were part of like a destroyer in the Pacific that got sank in World War II, and they're just like hanging out, bobbing for hours and hours,
Sharks
waiting for rescue. And there's like they have people writing journals, like some of the soldiers, like and every so often someone just gets torn down, and it's like you're just waiting for yourself to be that.
I don't know how many sharks there were. Maybe 500.
Doll's eyes, dark eyes like a doll's eyes. Yeah, fucked up shit. It's very interesting though. And Drifter transitioning seamlessly to the standing desk.
I usually mute and try to do it less noticeably. The motor can be a little loud.
No, we didn't hear a thing. That's the USS Indianapolis, right? The World War II bomb transporting ship. That
it might be. I don't know many of the U.S. I think they surrendered on the USS Missouri. There was a USS Connecticut or something that got sank during the war. I don't know the USSs.
So I don't know if I'm making a joke or not, but I'm talking about the boat from the Jaws story. That's a true story, about the boat going down and the men in the water with the sharks. That happened.
Well, I'm sure it happened a lot of times throughout history where a boat goes down and there's sharks.
No. The story, the spooky story they tell the night before in Jaws.
Jaws is based on that bull shark or whatever that swam up the Jersey River and like attacked a few people in that brackish water inland. They loosely based it on that. But the story that Quint tells in they're down below deck drinking, showing off scars, right? And laughing it up. You see this one? No, broken heart. She broke my heart, and they all laugh it up. And he's like, "What about that one? What about that one?" And he gets real sober and quiet. And he's like, that's old tattoo I had removed. What did it say, Mom? It said USS Indianapolis. He's like, "You were on the Indianapolis?" Yeah. And Roy Schneider's like, "What happened? Tell me the story." And it's just like not a happy story. They were transporting the fucking bomb. And the mission was so secret that they never radioed that their boat had been torpedoed because their boat wasn't supposed to be there. So like 1,500 men or something go into the water, burnt badly in oil slicks that are still burning in some cases, covered in oil, shit, blood, and death as the ship sinks, and no one's going to be coming looking for them for a week or something like that. And they're bobbing up and down, and the sharks show up, and it's the Pacific fucking Ocean. So there's a lot of them. And they ate hundreds of men.
Do you guys ever?
It's arguable how many sharks ate and how many sharks killed, but it was a lot of men who were eaten and killed.
Or pivoting off of that, in a weird way, Delta 8 fixed my back recently. So you may know spine's broken, 2 pieces, not super comfortable. I do a lot of core work to mostly hold myself up with the ab muscles. They're not anything impressive. It's unfixable.
What does that mean?
That means that the surgery you do to get it fixed has a much higher chance of failing than helping. So it's smarter, especially since I'm younger and relatively okay to build muscles instead. But that's not really the point. Bad back, ooh, boo-hoo, me, whatever. Did a bunch of Delta 8 with my wife, very much so like what you were talking about, Taylor. We did a lot of that, and we played video games while some Adult Swim shit was on TV. That was my night. And then we moved on to other adult activities. And as a guy with a store back, I have to be a little bit more careful. We got to pick our positions a little bit, tactically. But I'm high as fuck. I am lit. I'm not thinking about anything of that. I'm just jumping on there like I'm 19 and like bang, 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 bang. It's kind of dangerous given the problem. And midway in, I do it and I feel a pop. And I'm like, oh, shit. Because I can feel it in the vertebra that's not so well connected. And I'm like, oh God. I'm like having a fucking anxiety attack. And I'm like, well, it's not hurting. Might hurt like a motherfucker in the morning. This might be my last time for a while. Better go here. And, just pass out like that weed hangover, just like dead. Wake up in the morning. And the first thing I remember is like, oh, fuck. I had rough sex last night and I popped my back. So I'm like getting out of bed, like really cautiously with like all the little support handles. And I'm like, okay, doesn't hurt. Like weird. And I like move around. And I'm like, wow, that actually feels kind of good back there. You bend over, stand up, do a squat. I'm like, wow, I think that's like way better than yesterday. What the fuck did I do? I think I literally, I fucked it back into place. I was super happy with that. And I say that is marijuana, not marijuana, it's Delta 8 doing its job.
Yeah, that's medical.
See, like, I'm first of all, it's great that you fucked your back into place.
But it's lovely. Best way to do it.
Kyle, you liked Delta 8 for a bit until you were like, this isn't strong
I discovered
enough.
There's something stronger. Well, it was never.
But is THCO? Is it the same feeling I'll get from Delta 8 and regular weed? Because that's what I like about Delta 8.
Yeah.
Is it gives me the same relaxation as regular weed. I don't mind that it takes twice as much to get to the same level because it's the same sensation. Like THCO, I don't want to feel like fucking neurotic or really energized or something.
Yeah, you get like really, really itchy. but it's mostly your eyeballs, so you can't scratch them. So you're fine.
Fun.
Okay.
Like you're not going to scratch your eyeballs unless you do too much, and then you go like crazy at them. But just don't do too much.
Just do a reasonable amount of THCO.
No, it feels exactly like marijuana. It's just
you need way less of it than Delta.
Then like Delta 8, and it's it's all cheap. Like I order it from that website where it's like 50 cents a gram or something like that. It's so goddamn cheap.
What's your standard dose? What do you take?
I've been using like mostly these vape pens. Like this is actually from my gas station. This is from the website. This is called Cannabeast. CANNIBEAST Cannabeast.com. And I've got the what is this fucking Acapulco Gold.
Acapulco Gold. They even spell cannabis with an I instead of an A.
Yeah, Cannabeast.
So it's like Cannabeast. It's not the same.
Yeah, and but and like the girl at the gas station, she's like, "We have Delta 8 and 1.5," and I'm just like, "No, I want the THCO."
Why is the girl at your gas station talking to you in this way?
Does the hallucination part of it work? It's supposed to be more psychoactive. Like, does it make you see things?
Fuck no.
That's a shame. I love that shit.
I've done a lot of acid before, and I saw things there. But even then, like you're seeing things alter themselves. You're seeing like clouds like pulsate or breathe, or like colors sort of expand and shrink and stuff. You're not seeing like a fucking pink midget dance into the room or a leprechauns and never.
Nobody wants that.
I would love that, but that's not what you
leprechaun.
If a pink leprechaun came in and was like, "Oh," and like had some gold and had to chase him around for half an hour, that'd be the best drug in the world. I don't know what I'd pay for that. If they were like, "It's $1,000 a hit," I'd be like, "How long does it last?"
Okay, you've definitely done the most drugs
year for that.
Have you ever had synesthesia from cannabis or Delta 8 or THCO?
I don't know what that is.
That's where you can your senses get mixed up. You can hear things visually. You can taste sounds and stuff like that.
No,
it's where your brain doesn't interpret input correctly, and so like seeing blue might make you taste something, or like feeling something might make you imagine.
I'll tell you what, if I taste blue, if I ever taste blue, then I'm going to reevaluate this whole Delta.
No, it's not that. It's not that you're tasting blue. It's that seeing blue triggers something that makes you taste potentially something else. So it could be watermelon.
I refuse to draw a distinction between what I said and what you said. They're both ridiculous things.
Yeah, one was retarded, one was well thought out, but
same thing.
I was just curious. That's something that happens to me when I get really high, and very infrequently that'll happen, and I can like taste a sound or something. It's really weird, but I think it's kind of fun. It's not harmful or scary. It's kind of like Mito.
What was a sound that you tasted, and what was the sound, and what did it taste like?
A creaky door, a little bit less of a flavor, felt like a potato chips, like I was crunching on something in my mouth, because I think it was creaking and my brain was interpreting that as more of a crunch. Certain flavors would translate to like skin tactile sensations, and
interesting.
The biggest one was that sound would come out a little bit more visually. Like if I hear certain musics and whatever, that I started seeing like a lot of multicolor triangles and stuff, but each little beat was a little different.
And wait, I'm curious about the sound thing. So was this at the same time period that you were experiencing that much more mild synesthesia, or was it after that? Like the other kind you were talking about where you might taste a chip?
I mean, it all happens at kind of the same time.
Interesting.
It's not super intense or insane or anything. It's just really neato. It's like a neat sensation that you don't normally get. So it's been fun.
No, I guess most people would never experience that, because like, and it sounds like something that like before we understood the science of the brain, people would be like, that's bullshit. You're making stuff up. That's nonsense. But because we know the different areas of the brain associated with different tendencies and feelings and sensations, like it is weird that you could have a sensation on your tongue triggered by your eye. But for now, we've got Drifter looking like he's checking in from the hospital. Are you okay?
No.
Right?
It's not the hospital. I'm going to go ahead and move this. I'm just on mobile, laying in my bed like a big loser because I made a slight miscalculation doing physical therapy that caused a little injury, and I probably just shouldn't be sitting in my chair for 2 or 3 hours. And you guys said I could just do this laying in bed, so I'm just laying in bed, being lazy, doing a podcast.
How old are you, Drifter?
I am rapidly approaching 35, so about to transition into like boomer numbers.
I'm definitely an asshole, but I've enjoyed watching all my 20-year-olds turn 35. Like,
yeah, we're all hitting geriatric pregnancy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Does your back hurt? I've been in back pain town for a while now.
Yeah.
So what kicked it off for you? It seems like you have some shit luck with your health. What happened? I was looking at your channel and I saw a video from recent where you're like, "Oh, I've been out of commission for 6 weeks." Just another thing. What happened there?
Yeah.
Is that
so I'll make this story really short. I hired a private physical therapist. I do physical therapy at home. Actually went really well. I was a victim of my own success and just kind of crushing it on exercises, overperforming. So we kept picking them up perhaps a little bit more rapidly than we should have, until we found one that ripped one of the discs in my L5S1 spine that caused a lot of nerve pain and wasn't very pleasant, rapidly followed by some other bad things because I'm just having problems with my joints. And there is literally no known cause for it. I'm still fighting doctors and tests and MRIs and blood work and all sorts of nonsense. And yes, many psych evals, many psych evals. And we're headed toward that, like, is it lupus or sclerosis or like these like really like rare, like freaky diseases. But in the meantime, I still have the energy to get up and make content and shitpost.
Hold on a second. Why were you doing PT? You haven't told us. You haven't told us the thing.
What was the initial injury that had you in physical therapy?
Back pain? Like we started the story in the middle. I'm lost.
Okay. Two problems. Number one, in high school, I got my spine absolutely fucked in high school football, and it became a much bigger problem later in life. There's a lot of back pain, so that's not good. And then the orthopedic hand problems, I basically couldn't use my hands for like 6 months. I did regular physical therapy. It didn't work. I hired private physical therapists to work on the back and the hands together because the back gets weak when you can't lift and do things normally, right? Mm-hmm. So I was just trying to build up muscle and strength, and honest to God, it was going great. I was going back to gaming and all the things I wanted to do until I tried to pick up just a little bit too much weight. And rest in pepperonis, it's not easy being 35.
I hear
Damn.
you.
So this is like, how much time over the past 2 years have you been like laid up? Because it seems more often than not. Like your good days like are almost equivalent.
Did you offend an elder god?
I have wondered the same thing because a vast majority of the things I've experienced are rare, unlikely, impossible, cursed, you might say.
I'm going to be 100. Exactly. Like, I'm glad Taylor said it. That's where I'm headed. Because I'll be honest, first of all, you're real chipper about it, and it's great that you're keeping a positive attitude. At least here, right? You got to put on a happy face, but it's like, Jesus, that's got to be such a weight. Just not physically. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's where it is. It's awful physically, but Jesus, the emotional like suffering the fact that it's making you lay there and think about wonder what's wrong with you, and usually when something's wrong with me, I'm like, dang it. Got to go to the podiatrist and figure out why my heel hurts. But you're laying there like, what? I wish Dr. House was real.
Yeah. My Dr. House, I had a guy kind of like Dr. House. He was a little kooky, and he loved that my problems were weird because it was like fun to research. Mm-hmm. But I kind of exhausted him. So that's not good. Oh, I did beat the cancer in the meantime. The pituitary tumor, that's gone. Spontaneous remission. Problems didn't go away. Maybe it wasn't causing them to begin with. Who knows?
Your new problems ate the cancer.
I don't know. I really don't have a lot of clarity on this. Got to try to stay chipper, as you say. But the mental toll is tough. Imagine not being able to sit in a chair. You can't hold your cell phone to scroll on TikTok or whatever. No books, no video games. Can't sit upright to watch TV and stuff. So it's a lot of bed, and as you can see, I've got the cell phone rigged up here where I can watch many things and entertain myself, but it's not a healthy life.
Like, is that on the tables? Can you get your dick sucked, or are they like, and no matter what, do not have any orgasm?
No, I've managed to somehow stay sexually active. I have no idea how. It's a challenge now. I feel like geriatrics, like, hold up, let's get the position right. We're not going to throw anything out of place. We got to get those support straps.
Jesus.
That sucks.
Oh my
I
goodness.
would not. I I come down so much and empathize so much with what Kyle said. With like, I would be handling that so badly. I feel like I would be Mr. Woe is me. Like everything I want to do, I'd be like, oh, I want to go work out, can't do that. I want to go sit and play a video game because I can't work out, can't do that. Everything I like involves sitting or standing.
Yeah. You know what? One of the few things that I think I could still enjoy, like, is what we're doing right now. I feel like talking to people about stuff I like.
I'm sitting.
Yeah, I mean, but anything you do lying down, I guess. I'm thinking of all the things you can do lying down. There's like a real short list.
Fucking, and
that's a big one.
Kind of out of the equation with the
after my dick has been sucked and I wake up from the fourth nap, I'm kind of at a loss.
Yeah, you're describing my life. I'm trying to be really chipper and friendly, but no, it's not fun. It bums me out. So
no, it's
not
fun at all.
How long you'll be laying
got some good news though.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned this. I think I kept it private last time. I, despite all the health problems, have never been more financially successful. I applied what I learned from social media to I have to keep it secret, different type of website to absolutely exploit algorithms and fuck that computer for every dollar it's worth. And I've managed to create something that essentially just prints money. And I can also now talk about from the like ages old harassment problem. I did have to move and buy a new house because that was bad. I'd waited years so that like it's all off the market and there's no very similar to that, Woody, off the market and stuff. But the funny thing was I moved in the same city, but like way to the other ass inside of it, closer to Frisco. And I bought a house right at the low point of the pandemic. And it like doubled in value and this other thing. So I'm now living in like a giant McMansion with more money than I know what to do with. And the ironic thing is not much I can spend it on. So I'm just stacking those dollars up. And whenever this improves, I'm going to do something crazy. You're just going to see me in like Dubai or something.